first and foremost, here we see that the Gaon Vilna brings a verse and from Psalms saying that the honor of the king's daughter is when she dwells inside. Here we see that the Gaon Vilna is telling us that if you want to be an honorable woman, you have to be reserved. If you want to be on with your picture on the internet, on Facebook, on Twitter, on PicPoc and TikTok and Instagram and thisgram and all types of WhatsApps and so on, you want your picture everywhere, even if your picture is modest, but you want your picture everywhere, you're not a reserved person. The more reserved, the less people are going to see you. Now, of course, in today's society, they're going to say, oh, that's chauvinism, that's sexism, that's thisism, and that'sism. Fine, you can call it whatever you want. The Gaon Vilna, which was much smarter than any of us, says, no, our holy Torah says, in the name of David HaMelech, says the opposite. Says the opposite. Anyone that believes in the Torah has to understand David HaMelech, surely he's smarter than you. And David HaMelech says, no, the honor of the girl, the honor of the young woman, the honor of the older women, it's not a matter of beauty. It's not a matter of age, not a matter of anything else. But the honor of a woman is that she's reserved. Reserved meaning she's not in the public eye on a regular basis. Hence the reason why a woman in Judaism is not allowed to be a witness. She's not allowed to be a witness because it's not kavod for the woman to be interrogated and publicly embarrassed, as it commonly happens in lawsuits when there's interrogations and you're asking the witness and you're making them nervous and so on and so forth. You're never going to see a Jewish woman in a Jewish court as a witness. Also, there are certain roles that are not appropriate for a woman. And one of the main things that Arav Steinemann, alav shalom, used to fight tooth and nail. Which is against the draft of women in the IDF. And this is not something that he created, because this also was at the time of the Chazon Ish. And in fact, when they came to the Chazon Ish, the Gdol Hador, and said, Kvod Harav, listen, there are two major issues right now with the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, Israeli Army. They're trying, these politicians, these Zionists, Imach Shimam v'Zichram, that are trying to uproot the Torah. What are they trying to do? They're trying to force all of the Bachurim in the yeshiva to join the army, leave the yeshiva, shave their heads, and go to the army. That's it. Forget the yeshiva, forget the books, forget Hashem, forget everything, chas v'shalom. Leave the yeshiva, go to the army. Even though the Torah says, Im lo briti yomam v'layla chukot shamayim v'aretz lo samti, that if not for my covenant day and night, the rules of the world will cease to exist, that if there's nobody in the world learning Torah even for a single second, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will simply destroy the world. And even though it also says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, go to war. And Moshe Rabbeinu, what did he do? He had 1,000 men studying Torah and 1,000 men with spears and swords. How are the people with the Gemara, Rashi, Tosfot, Chumash, how are they going to help the people going to war? What, are they going to hit people with the book? No. They're learning Torah and they're fighting with the swords. Yeah, but how? Why don't you get the guys with the Torah, with the books, with the scrolls at the time, to go join and pick up a sword themselves? Why are they being lazy? Not lazy. They're the reason why we're going to win the war. The guys with the books, the guys learning Torah, they are the reason why we're going to win the war. But since HaKadosh Baruch Hu told us that we have to work within nature, and we cannot live on a miracle, we can't just say, listen, we are not, Hashem said go to war, so we're just going to open the books. We have to open the books regardless. He's saying we have to go to war. That's a milchemet mitzvah. It's a war, that's a mitzvah itself. We have to show our effort. We pick up a sword. Who's picking up a sword? People that are warriors, people that are trying to kill people for fun, like the Romans and the Greeks and all of the Nazis. No, these are other avrechim. They're just not on the same level. They're not on the same level. They're not people that are toiling in Torah nonstop. They're people that are a little lesser level. They're going to go and fight. They're going to pick up a sword. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to make that sword kill 1,000 people. without the guy doing too much. Why? He doesn't need to train for war. He's just the ishtadlut. He's just the effort to make it look normal, to make it look natural. So we see here that the times we won all of the wars was because the people of learning Torah, following mitzvot. So you're telling me that I should take all of the people that are learning Torah and put them in the army? That's against the Torah. But of course, the Zionists don't care about the Torah. They hate the Torah. And even the people that promote Zionism, but in the name of religion, like we see this Arur Merusha Bennett, he claimed to be religious all these years with his kippah on the back of his head. Even the reforms don't put a kippah on the back of the head. But he's so embarrassed of his kippah that he put it in the back of the head. So that's why in all of the pictures you're ever going to see of this wicked person, which I don't recommend to look at it because the Gemara says you're not allowed to look at the face of a Rasha. But nonetheless, not everybody's so sensitive spiritually. Anyone that sees the picture or a video of this Arur Rasha Bennett, you're never going to see a kippah. It's not that he's not wearing a kippah. He's wearing a kippah, but he's wearing it in the back of his head. In the back of his head. But yet he claims to be the representative of Judaism, representative of Torah, and so on and so forth. How are you representing the Torah if you're going to go join the people that are anti-Torah? The lefty, liberal, anti-Torah, Lapid, and the rest of the Shaim. But this is what happens, Rabotai. When people tell you one thing and they do something else, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, see, he was always that way. It's not that he changed. He was always that way. That's why even Rav Ovadia spoke against him when he was still in this world. Nonetheless, you see that sometimes people are going to say things about the people that are learning Torah. Say they should go and fight in the army. Now, of course, if somebody is just filling up a spot in the yeshiva and smoking cigarettes all day and not really learning, yes, they should go to the army. They should go to the army. Instead of getting in trouble, instead of wasting time, they should go to the army. And that's what Moshe Rabbeinu did. People that were not really 100% into the books, they should go to the army and fight the war. But if somebody's seriously learning nonstop and he's seriously dedicating themselves, they don't necessarily need to be the biggest scholar in the world, the biggest genius in the world. Even if they're an average level or even below average level of intellect, but they are toiling in Torah, you leave them learning Torah. You leave them learning Torah. So at the time of the Chazon Ish, the people came to him and said, listen, these Zionists want to uproot all of these Bachurei Yeshiva. We have to fight it. You're right, we have to fight it. You have to do protests, you have to send letters, you have to do everything you can. Yeah, but Kvod Harav, now these Arurim, these cursed Zionists, also want to do something else. What do they want to do? They want to force the girls to go into the army. They want to first force all of the Bnot Israel, all of the daughters of Am Israel, to go and join the army. So we can't fight both of them. Meaning, sure we can, but if we're spreading our powers in these two places, we're going to end up, losing both. As the Gemara says, tafasta merubetz lo tafasta. That sometimes it's you have to make sure that you capture the bird in hand rather than worrying about the two in the bush. So here we see that this is a very big dilemma. On one end, you're saying they're trying to uproot all of the Bachurim from going to yeshiva and go to the army. On another end, you're saying that there's all these girls, all of these tzadikot, Bnot Israel. They're saying they're going to, fight tooth and nail to force all of them to join the army. What no army in the world does, they want to do. No army in the world forces their women to go into the army. No country in the world forces their girls to go into the army, but the Zionist Israeli army, they're going to force their girls to go into the army. One of the most ludicrous things in history. And the reality is, in most places, in many countries, they don't even have women in their army that even have the capacity that they give some women today in the Israeli army. But nonetheless, they want them to fight. They want them to fight just like the men. So, Chazon Ish has a big halachic question. Which one do we fight? Both are important. On one end, you have all of the Bachurim learning Torah. On another end, you have all of the daughters of Israel. They're going to go to the army. Hashem Yishmo, what's going to happen? We see what happens now. Even though the draft is not forced for women today, we see many women in Eretz Yisrael join the army, and some stupid people send their daughters from America and other countries to Eretz Yisrael so they could go to the army. It's one of the dumbest things in the history of mankind, but unfortunately, many people that want to show as if they're supporting Israel, they send their daughters, not their sons, their daughters to the Israeli army. they have no idea that they just literally just put their daughter into hot lava and there's no return. Why? Because the army is not a place for women. It's not a place for women. The amount of rape and abortions that happens in the army is something out of this world. And there's nothing that anyone can do about it practically. There's simply nothing that anyone can do about it. The amount of abortions they have in the army is unprecedented. The amount of rape that happens in the army, unprecedented. And there's nothing anyone can do about it. And virtually no one even talks about this nightmare. So to have all of these young girls go to the army, disaster. Chazon Ish says, listen, even though we have to fight for our boys to stay in yeshiva, if one of them or two of them or some of them or all of them go to the yeshiva, it's not the end of the world. Go to the army, it's not the end of the world as far as that, because we're always going to have some stay behind. We're always going to find certain ways. And this is something that is not necessarily one of the cardinal sins. But if our girls go to the army, that is areg ve'al yavo. That is, it's better they die and they don't go to the army, because for sure it's going to be destroyed. And if the girls end up going to the army, for sure all of the boys are going to leave the Torah after them. Even if the boys end up staying. Let's say we only fight for the boys to stay in yeshiva and we let the girls go to the army, all of those boys are going to end up following those girls. We end up losing both of them. So all of the effort, the Chazon Ish says, has to go in order to save the girls. All of the effort, all of the energy.
I've heard enough. New arrival screams, echoing through the hallway to know that this ain't good. Once they pass them through the infierno, they don't come back. It's enough to make you go crazy.
Do not think we fear you, Spirit. We know your power is born of evil. This is your last night in the land of the living. You understand me, malevolent demon?
There was a rich family that lived here called the Hetheringtons, and unfortunately, their daughter passed away of a heart attack inside the house. Basically, they were so devastated that they reached out to people claiming to be psychic mediums. They actually weren't psychic mediums. They opened up a total of 11 portals inside this house and invited spirits and entities from all different kinds of dimensions.
Well, I think there are certain pieces of evidence that there is an afterlife.
Resurrection of the dead is affirmed pretty clearly in the Talmud and the Midrash.
To be honest with you, to give this lecture is a nightmare. If it was up to me, I wouldn't do it. There's going to be some graphic details.
This place is a maze.
That person after death went to a place called Sheol.
This is by far the largest near-death experience study that has ever been conducted.
People go to a place and they experience weird things. And sometimes they actually will see a character of some type. Well, where did that come from?
I don't know why that one chain is swinging back there.
They may describe feeling profoundly peaceful, seeing a bright, warm, welcoming light. Some people describe watching doctors and nurses working on them with incredible accuracy.
Next thing I knew, I was above my body watching the operation.
How long did you feel like you were gone?
I went to a place of timelessness. And so what that means, it could have been a second, could have been 5 minutes. I don't know.
Can you imagine waking up from your sleep and not being able to move?
As I'm lying there, I realized that there's an evil presence next to me.
Do you believe that angels, demons exist?
Holy dude, get out of here! Oh my god, dude!
Strange things keep happening. Bizarre nightmares. As if I'm on fire.
Whoa, what the hell is this? Man, I've got bad chest pain.
Satan's Hollow is what it's called, the portal to hell.
Some people calling it an eye of fire, while others said it looked like the portal to hell opening up.
And the next thing I know, I was outside of my body, looking at my body.
What I'm going to do is called claromancy, the art of throwing lots or throwing bones.
2,000 years of experience, passed down, recorded, of how demons work.
God has them all on a leash, and he lets the leash go enough to let them tempt us, because that's what makes us spiritually stronger.
I'm trying to be as graphic as possible so you understand what we're talking about.
It's your ticket to reality. It's your ticket to freedom. It's your ticket to immortality.
Is there an afterlife? Is there a
This
God?
is the type of information that can keep you away from the Yetzirah.
What happens to us after we die?